The avoidant person cannot express love through conventional means like verbal declarations, consistent affection, or emotional availability. Their defensive programming prevents direct communication of feelings that would expose them to vulnerability and potential rejection. However, their love manifests through subtle behavioral shifts and unconscious actions that reveal their genuine attachment despite their inability to speak it aloud. These hidden signs emerge as deviations from their typical patterns of distance and detachment. They initiate contact despite their nature. The avoidant person, who typically avoids reaching out, first begins initiating conversations, checking in, or creating reasons to maintain connection. This represents enormous psychological effort for someone whose entire identity centers on independence. Their willingness to bridge the gap they usually force others to cross reveals that their desire for connection has become stronger than their fear of appearing needy. They share their physical space. The avoidant person invites someone into their home, personal sanctuary, or private environments they typically guard fiercely. This territorial openness contradicts their usual need to maintain separated spaces and reveals trust that they reserve for those who have genuinely penetrated their defenses. Their willingness to share physical proximity indicates emotional significance they cannot verbally express. They remember small details. The avoidant person demonstrates they have been listening and retaining information about preferences, stories, and details shared in conversation. They remember favorite foods, important dates, or casual mentions of interests despite their presentation of detachment. This attention reveals that someone occupies significant mental space even when they appear disinterested or distracted during interactions. They include you in future plans. The avoidant person casually references plans weeks or months ahead, assuming continued presence in their life. This future-oriented language contradicts their typical present-focused, commitment-phobic communication. Their willingness to envision shared experiences yet to come reveals they have internally committed to sustained connection despite their inability to explicitly state this intention. They become protective. The avoidant person displays concern for well-being, safety, or emotional state in ways that contradict their usual stance of detached indifference. They might express worry about health, offer unsolicited help during difficult times, or show subtle jealousy when others show romantic interest. This protective instinct emerges despite their conscious attempts to appear unaffected. They tolerate emotional conversations. The avoidant person, who typically flees from emotional discussions, begins staying present during vulnerable conversations without immediately changing subjects or withdrawing. Their increased tolerance for emotional content, even if they struggle to reciprocate, indicates they value the connection enough to endure the discomfort that intimacy triggers in their nervous system. They make small sacrifices. The avoidant person adjusts their schedule, compromises on preferences, or accommodates needs despite their usual rigidity about maintaining independence. These small acts of consideration reveal that someone's happiness has begun mattering enough to override their typical self-focused patterns. Their willingness to experience minor inconvenience indicates attachment they cannot verbally acknowledge. They share vulnerabilities. The avoidant person reveals struggles, fears, or difficulties they normally guard with fierce protectiveness. They might mention work stress, family issues, or personal challenges in ways that expose the complexity beneath their facade of independence. These moments of selective vulnerability represent profound trust and indicate someone has earned access to their inner world. They maintain consistency. The avoidant person reduces their typical hot and cold patterns, becoming more predictable and reliable in their presence. This increased consistency contradicts their usual strategy of creating distance after closeness. Their willingness to maintain steady engagement despite the discomfort reveals they have decided this connection matters enough to challenge their defensive patterns. They seek your opinion. The avoidant person, who typically makes decisions independently, begins asking for input, advice, or perspective on matters important to them. This consultation indicates they value judgment and have begun integrating someone into their decision-making process, despite their presentation of self-sufficiency.